And then it shall be free.
What's up, everybody? It's Yeong here with a Metal Gear Solid 5 trailer analysis. Today I'll be analyzing the Gamescom 2015 gameplay trailer that came out recently. There's not too much here that we don't already know or haven't theorized, but there are some interesting things to note. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. The trailer opens with a shot of the Afghanistan desert, somewhere around dawn or dusk time. I noticed that there are white specks floating around, which looks to me like snowflakes. I did a little bit of research to see if this was at all possible, and it looks like Kabul is indeed host to some snow, so perhaps we are seeing confirmation here that Phantom Pain's northern Kabul, Afghanistan location will feature some snow from time to time. We are then shown a shot of a little outpost in Afghanistan. Down here is a container housing resources that players can Fulton, and up here is a flag of the Soviet Union, further referencing the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan during Phantom Pain's era. We are then taken to a familiar shot from the E3 2015 trailer, which I have already analyzed, so let's move on. This is then followed by a title card that reads, "It's the end of an era." I think we all know what this is referencing, and you know what? It's just too sad to think about that right now, so moving on. We are then shown a brand new shot of the cremation ceremony hosted in Mother Base. On the table here are urns housing the ashes of the fallen comrades, which Big Boss will promptly proceed to rub all over his face. Not much else to see here except that once again we are shown further evidence that recruits will wear different outfits in Mother Base, although I'm not sure if this has anything to do with some kind of ranking system within Mother Base, or if each soldier can be individually customized with different outfits. After another familiar shot and after the title card, "Peace came with a price," we are taken back to the bloody Diamond Dogs hallway in which some kind of massacre has taken place. I talked all about possibilities on what could have caused this in the E3 2015 trailer analysis, so be sure to check that out if you haven't done so yet. Interesting to note about this version of the scene is that Big Boss is wearing a gas mask here. Further moving into the trailer, we are shown the title card, "But Some Wars Don't End," which is then followed by a couple of shots in which there really isn't much to analyze that I haven't talked about before. And then we are shown another title card, "Until Someone is Dead." Together, the message is, "But some wars don't end until someone is dead." This is probably a reference to the never-ending rivalry between Big Boss and Zero. So long as those two are alive, the war that will come to nearly bring the world to its knees would continue. We are then taken to another familiar shot, except this time the chopper has been customized with red highlights and Big Boss is all bloodied up. This is followed by these two shots, which are likely part of the continuity of the previous shot. I'm thinking that this might be the scene that plays after Big Boss completes missions 0, 1, and 2, which in order are the hospital mission, Kaz's rescue, and what I'm assuming to be the introduction to Mother Base management. I think once Big Boss is finally ready to tackle missions on his own, this scene will play, and then missions 3, 4, and 5 will unlock. In the next shot, we get to hear a new line from Kiefer Sutherland.
"I like working solo anyway."
A very classic Snake thing to say. And then we are taken straight to gameplay, starting with Africa. In the background is a massive fortified mansion or villa of sorts. This is likely the same one seen in the TGS 2014 gameplay demo, so for anyone out there who were afraid that we might not get to infiltrate large interior spaces, there you go. In the next shot, we are given a close look at anti-air radars, which will prevent Snake from being able to call Pequod in an area near this apparatus. Players will have to destroy it if they want to call an extraction chopper nearby or if they need the chopper to lay down some cover fire. This is then followed by a shot showing Snake on one of the balconies of the villa, which feature searchlights, and you can see here just how heavily this guy is armed and equipped. Clearly, someone very rich hired these mercenaries, possibly the man leading the mining of diamonds in this region. We are then taken to another familiar scene, except this time we get to see what Ocelot looks like wearing his cool shades, which will actually go on sale as part of Phantom Pain's premium merchandise. Next up is a shot of Big Boss in the chopper, and there's not much to analyze here, so let's move on to this one. Big Boss is wearing a plain white or tan fatigue here, and on his back is a very cool looking high caliber sniper rifle, which I don't think we've seen before. Then, after a demonstration of Big Boss's CQC capabilities, we are taken to this area here. This is definitely the same location as the one in the shot showing the battalion of tanks, featuring the same structures and scaffolding. And the road here most likely leads to the hangar housing the ST-84 Metal Gear. We are then taken back to what I believe to be Africa, this time a new area altogether. It's a pretty small outpost, featuring tents instead of edifices, and all the way in the back here are resources that players can steal, so infiltrating this little outpost is probably worth it. This is followed by another shot of Africa, this time with foggy weather, which will affect visibility of both the player and soldiers. We also get to see enemy soldiers making use of decoys. Now here's a really badass shot. It looks like there are some new CQC moves that have been added to Snake's arsenal. I don't think I've seen this one before. This one in particular reminds me of this shot from the E3 2015 trailer, in which Snake disarms the knife away from Quiet. Very cool indeed. Moving on, we are shown Snake perched at the top of a cliff overlooking a vast African swamp. This is then directly followed by a shot showing us a glimpse of thunderstorms. You can actually see lightning, the rain transformed in this shot if you pause at the right time. We are then given a brief glimpse of a small settlement in Africa. The torches are a nice touch. The trailer then shows us D-Horse wearing a different armor from the one we saw in the E3 2015 gameplay demo. They may look similar, but they are definitely different. Notice how the horse's head equipment is no longer a face cover, but rather some kind of mask. More importantly, check out D-Horse's body. Underneath the armor is some kind of black suit. I think it's safe to assume that we are looking at D-Horse's sneaking suit, which probably reduces the amount of noise it makes as it traverses land. Next up is a shot showing one of Big Boss's familiar moves. If we pause at the right moment, you can see that the soldier here is African, who is wearing a pretty light armor from the looks of it. We are then given a good view of another African settlement with Snake sitting atop the watchtower. From there, he enters first-person view and zooms in using his rifle's scope, allowing us to get a clear view of the entrance to what I'm assuming to be the diamond mine from which the African children are rescued from. We also get to see a very interesting crosshair. The game will likely feature a variety of different crosshairs from the many scope attachments. In fact, we get to see another different crosshair design a few seconds later. The trailer then proceeds by showing us some cool new story elements, starting with this shot of young Mantis, or Treti Rebionok, as he's known in Phantom Pain. Notice this rod-shaped object floating in front of him. Not sure what it is, but it looks important. Perhaps it's a casing housing a vial for the infection that I've theorized and talked so much about. Hard to say for sure. Something else I would like to note is the tower in the background, which could be indication that this scene also takes place in the same location as the scene with the battalion of tanks, which also features towers very similar to this one. In fact, we get to see that scene in the next shot where we see a truck getting blown up. Maybe the truck behind young Mantis is the same one. Furthermore, both scenes feature the same fence next to the tower here, so the two scenes might be a part of the same cutscene. And while the young Mantis shot is playing, you can hear a demonic voice saying, "The dream of every ruler."
The dream of every ruler.
I wonder who that is. I highly doubt that's young Mantis, since that's no voice for a kid, and it's not Code Talker either. If I had to guess, I would say that the voice might belong to the man on fire. I feel like the voice would suit him, but I could be wrong.
The dream of every ruler.
We are then taken to another familiar shot, which I also analyzed in the E3 2015 trailer analysis. So let's move on to this shot of Code Talker, who is inside Pequod, being transported somewhere. During the shot, he states that Skullface plans to become a nuclear power.
Skullface plans to become a nuclear power.
This probably has in large part to do with the ST-84 Metal Gear that Skullface has got in his possession. Hard to say what he plans to do with a nuke with so little context, so we'll have to wait until the game launches to find out. A couple of more familiar shots later, we are given a lightning quick glimpse of Phantom Pain's hospital scene, where we see Big Boss being chased by the man on fire riding a horse on fire. Like in the GDC 2013 trailer, Big Boss is wielding a shotgun to defend himself against the mysterious creature. We are then taken back to gameplay, where we see Big Boss taking the action approach to infiltrate the villa, which is then followed by a shot of him rescuing a POW who looks pretty beat up and bruised, particularly on the face area. Something that we got to learn from the MGS5 preview event is that POWs who have been tortured or beat up might die if they're Fultoned, which is maybe why he is being extracted manually via chopper rather than via Fulton. Moving on, we are taken to one of the coolest shots in the trailer, in which we see Quiet teaming up with Big Boss to take down an enemy aircraft. I would first like to note that this chopper here has been customized with a crimson red color, which looks pretty badass. I would also like to note that the sniper that Quiet is wielding here isn't her usual weapon, the Wicked Butterfly. This is actually the M2000 Sniper D, which can also be found in Ground Zeroes. I don't know why she's wielding this more primitive sniper rifle, but she doesn't give a damn as she uses it with ease to take down the pilot. Very badass. Now, as we all know by now, Quiet is an optional support buddy, meaning that any cutscenes with Quiet could very well be optional as well. So my assumption is that this cutscene might be a part of Quiet's optional storyline. We are then shown a new shot of Skullface, who is carrying with him some kind of canister. Perhaps this also has to do with the theorized infection, but this could also very well be some kind of nuclear device, which is something that Code Talker alluded to earlier. In the background is a burning chopper. I think this is part of the aftermath of the scene showing the battalion of tanks wrecking shit up, as well as the scene showing Psycho Mantis, judging by the ravaged scaffolding back here on the right. After another familiar scene, we are shown another shot focusing on Skullface, this time with his XOF unit. They are clearly in the hangar housing the ST-84 Metal Gear, but what they are pointing at is hard to say. Young Mantis, perhaps? After all, we do see him floating above the ST-84 Metal Gear in the concept art shown in Phantom Pain's Special Edition packaging video. The trailer then shifts to a close-up of an XOF soldier in the hospital scene, holding his gun all gangsta style. We are shown more of this scene later on, so let's put a pin on this for now. Now, here is something interesting. We are shown an African settlement in flames, with what could be Pequot being shot down by the enemy. This same moment is also shown in the Gamescom 2015 Mother Base gameplay demo. Now, the projectile here is definitely not an ordinary missile. If anything, it looks like a fireball, and the only one who would be capable of something like this is the man on fire, so it looks like he may also be prominent in Africa, not just in Cyprus or Afghanistan. This next scene is also very interesting. If you pause at the right moment, you'll be able to make out a flaming crane truck flying towards the camera. Then, as the camera pans, we are given a very brief glimpse of some kind of advanced equipment on the car's dashboard. This is the very same equipment found in the car that Big Boss and Ishmael used to escape the hospital, so it's safe to assume that what we are looking at here is a scene from the hospital escape. If you're still not convinced, as the camera pans to the right, you can actually get a glimpse of Ishmael's bandaged arm taking the wheel of the car. Now, one popular theory is that Ishmael is a figment of Big Boss's imagination, but that wouldn't explain how he's driving the car. Food for thought. One last thing to note about this shot is the little PlayStation controller icon on the top right corner. If I recall from my hour-long session of Phantom Pain during E3 2015, I believe that anytime this icon is on, players can move the camera around in the cutscene. Moving on, after another title card and another familiar shot, we are shown a very badass shot featuring Big Boss pointing some kind of one-handed shotgun towards someone on the floor. In the background are the same towers seen in the shot with the battalion of tanks, so this is also likely the same location in Afghanistan, and possibly part of the same cutscene, judging by the sparks of dust and fire floating in the air. As for who Big Boss is aiming his weapon at, I am thinking that it's gotta be none other than Skullface. Notice how Big Boss is wielding his trademark weapon. This can only mean that Skullface was subdued and his weapon was stolen from him. Could Big Boss and Kaz finally be taking revenge in this scene? If this is indeed where Skullface meets his end, here in Afghanistan, then perhaps there is some merit to the theory that he might become a part of Big Boss's psyche, causing Big Boss to hallucinate about him in the future. Equally possible is that Big Boss and Kaz are simply securing Skullface to bring him back to Mother Base and force him to help Diamond Dogs in some way. We'll have to wait and see. Next up is a scene showing more Code Talker, this time in his humble abode. And yup, there is definitely some weird juju shit going on here. It looks like there will be something supernatural about Code Talker after all, who is going all Dumbledore on these candles. We are then shown a close-up of the man on fire. Judging by the design of the tiles here, I would say this is the same room in which the XOF soldiers get slaughtered by the chopper's rotor blades. And then bam sucker, crispy fried XOF soldier. So it looks like the soldiers and the man on fire aren't necessarily on the same side. We are then taken to another familiar shot, but before we move on, I would like to analyze the dialogue spoken throughout the last couple of shots.
They've only got two options. Heaven or hell.
No. There's another.
Snake's dialogue, "No, there's another," particularly struck me. Could he be talking about outer heaven? I think it's very possible. Food for thought. Then, after a couple of title cards and another familiar shot, we are once again shown Skullface, this time inside some kind of interior compound with blood dripping all over the walls. Hard to say for sure where this could be, but the colors and textures on the walls here do somewhat remind me of the bloodied cement floor found in this shot from the E3 2015 trailer. I would also like to note the weapon that Skullface is carrying, which again is the same gun that Big Boss is wielding in this previous shot. And as Skullface puts his weapon away, he says, "Burn with the rest of them."
Burn with the rest of them.
With so little context, it's hard to say for sure what he's referring to, but I'm thinking that the rest of him could be a reference to the corpses that he's burning in this shot of the E3 2015 trailer. My theory, which I talked about in the E3 2015 trailer analysis, is that the corpses are being burned because they were subjects of Skullface's experiment involving microbial and infection, and that they're being burned to prevent the microbial in their bodies from evolving or spreading in unforeseen ways. So maybe the burning of infected corpses is what Skullface is alluding to here by saying burn with the rest of them. And again, this interior space in which Skullface is in right now reminds me of this shot where the African man seems to have been experimented on, so perhaps his body is planned to be burned as well eventually. I don't know, I'm really reaching here. In the next shot, we see a very familiar shot of young Mantis, except the lighting and camera angle has been slightly changed. Not much else to analyze. We are then taken back to the hospital's interior, this time with a chopper firing missiles from outside. Its color scheme is identical to the chopper in this shot of the short E3 2015 trailer, so I think it's safe to assume that this is an XOF chopper. This is followed by a better look of D-Horse's mask that's being worn alongside the sneaking suit, and then the trailer cuts back to the hospital scene. The man on fire will likely blow some shit up here, which will then likely be followed by this shot in the E3 2015 trailer. Also expanding on the E3 2015 trailer are the next couple of shots. We first see Big Boss wearing a gas mask somewhere in Mother Base, and then the trailer cuts to the interior of a brig in which some kind of a bomb or missile is about to land. This likely happens right before this shot from the E3 2015 trailer, in which we see the same room but in flames. Both shots even feature the same soldier lying towards the right here, so it looks like there will be moments in the story in which Mother Base will be invaded. This is then directly followed by a very cool shot of the man on fire emitting some kind of explosion that sends soldiers flying while getting ripped apart by flaming shrapnel. I think the flying shrapnel here might be some of the bullets lodged throughout the creature's body. So, flaming bullets basically. Sucks to be them. This next shot is probably part of the same scene, showing an XOF tank crashing into the hospital to provide backup. But not a single fuck is given by the man on fire and young Mantis, the latter of whom likely has control over the former. And finally, for the hospital scene, we are shown what happens a few seconds before the soldiers get slaughtered by the crashed chopper's rotating blades, as shown in the E3 2015 trailer, which is XOF soldiers shooting at the two supernatural beings. Now, this is very subtle, but this shot tells us that the chopper's rotor blades tearing down the XOF soldiers was no accident. Notice how the chopper is in reality half a chopper, how its rotor blades are bent to hell, and how it's floating in a very unnatural way. There is no way in hell a chopper can float or function in any capacity in this state. What's really happening here is that young Mantis is lifting the chopper and rotating the blades using his psychic powers. It's pretty crazy how powerful Mantis was even at such a young age. Yoda would be proud of him. Before the trailer ends, we are shown one last shot featuring Big Boss aiming his rifle at someone. Judging by the background, I think it's safe to assume that this is the hangar housing the ST-84 Metal Gear. This trailer and the E3 2015 trailer both show a lot of shots happening inside the hangar or nearby the hangar, indicating that there will be some kind of major battle or struggle in the area, so that's something to look forward to when you play Phantom Pain. As the trailer ends, we are given one more bit of dialogue from Ocelot.
What goes around comes around. You can't run from yourself forever.
What goes around comes around basically means that the consequences of one's actions will catch up and that they'll have to be dealt with eventually. This is then followed by "you can't run from yourself forever," and that's pretty self-explanatory. Now, I wonder what this is referring to and who this is being directed at. It sounds to me as though someone, possibly Big Boss, is putting something off or having doubts about something, with Ocelot saying that what has to be done has to be done. But there is too little context to make out exactly what he means, so I'll leave the interpretation of this quote up to you. And with that, I would like to end this trailer analysis. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on the footage presented in this trailer. And to be further updated on Metal Gear Solid 5, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.